Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Lorena Rodriguez. I'm captain at Sheriff's Information Bureau. Today, Sheriff Robert Luna will provide an update on the Monterey Park mass shooting. The order of speakers today are Sheriff Robert Luna, representing the 1st District, Supervisor Hilda Solis, representing the 4th District, Supervisor Janice Hahn, District Attorney George Gascon, and closing, Monterey Park Police Chief Scott Weiss. Now it is my honor to present the Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Robert Luna.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank you all for being here today. And I really want to thank everyone standing behind me for coming out to support us. You'll hear from some of them, but many of those you won't hear from have really been doing a great job of either offering assistance, giving assistance, but we're here today with some successes, and I think a lot of that is because of the partnerships that we have with the people behind us. So just to start off, our homicide investigators are still working very hard, as they were yesterday, through the night, and today. This is a very complex investigation. There's so many other things we don't know. But as I told you yesterday, when we started, or when we get more information, we'll be happy to bring it forth as we get it. And it's not only the Sheriff's Department that's working on this. We're still working very hard with our partners from the FBI, the ATF, the District Attorney's Office. The list goes on and on. So anyways, we have additional information that we're going to be sharing with you today. I think some of this information may have gotten out the last several hours, but I do regret to inform everybody that we did unfortunately have an 11th victim that passed away. So now we have a total of 11 victims that unfortunately have died as a result of this tragic incident. I also want to share the names of 3 victims in which, and this is a key, I'm sharing these because the next of kin notifications have been completed. That's number 1, Mai Hahn, female, 65 years of age. Lillian Lee, female, 63 years of age. And Alvaro Valentino, a male, 68 years of age. I'm going to pause there for a second. It's not so much because the siren's going by, but when you think of it, these are 3 people who aren't with us anymore, 3 families who will never be the same. And we have to remember that as we're talking about these, at the end of the day, it truly should be about the victims and their families, and the support and love, our prayers, our thoughts should be with all of them as we move forward. So as most of you are aware, last night we served a search warrant at the suspect's residence in the city of Hemet. As a result of the search warrant service, investigators recovered a few items of interest. And these are just, it's a summary, not everything we recovered. We recovered 1 .308 caliber rifle, numerous electronic devices such as cell phones, computers, etc. Items that lead us to believe the suspect was manufacturing homemade firearm suppressors. An unknown amount, I say unknown amount, and I'll explain that here, of .308 caliber and 9mm caliber ammunition. And the reason we say an unknown amount, they were in containers, and there are hundreds of rounds. We don't know exactly how many there were. A lot of loose ammunition, so eventually, you know, we'll get to exactly how many those were. From the Monterey Park scene, where the victims were assassinated, investigators recovered a total of 42 shell casings and a large capacity magazine. So 42 rounds were fired by the suspect at that location. Investigators also recovered a Norinco 7.62 by 25 handgun from inside the suspect's cargo van. That's the handgun that you saw being recovered from the van yesterday afternoon. That firearm was registered to the suspect. There was also clothing that the suspect wore during the commission of these crimes, and that was also recovered from the van. We have also learned that the firearm, which was wrestled away from the suspect at the Alhambra scene, was a 9mm caliber semi-automatic MAC-10 assault weapon. I want to emphasize that all the firearms recovered still require additional forensic ballistic examinations and comparisons that we're doing with our partners, as well as additional investigations into the origins of where the suspect got those weapons. A lot of work to be done there, but we don't want to leave any stone unturned. We are still not able to release additional information and photographs of the weapon, and that's one thing I was pushing our people to release the picture of the weapons that we recovered, but there's still witnesses that need to identify some of these things, and if we put them out there, it starts impacting the investigation. So that's why we're not releasing pictures yet. Regarding the suspect's background, he has a limited criminal history with an arrest in 1990 for an unlawful possession of a firearm. I'd like to take a second to also thank Mr. Brandon Stye for his heroic action, which saved countless lives. He's the hero that disarmed the suspect at the Alhambra location, and in my opinion, saved many of lives. Originally, we put out that there were 2 people. We find out ultimately, as we normally do as these things get investigated, there was only actually 1 person who disarmed them. But as you know, we're trying to put out information. It was preliminary, so there was 1, and that's his name. And what a brave man he is. The Langley Center continues to be open for victim resources and next of kin notifications, where we are being assisted by a lot of partners who have come forward, embracing all of the victims, different organizations, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate them. And they're going to be needed for weeks and months and who knows how long to come, so thank you very much for your efforts on that. And then I just want to remind everybody, and the other speakers will speak, I'll come back up here, I'll answer as many questions as I can, but just please remember that our investigators, along with our partners, continue to investigate all the details. There's a lot of stories coming forward. We're not ignoring any of them, but we've heard some things that just are second, third-hand information, and the investigators are siphoning through all that information to make sure that we determine the motive. We still don't have a motive, but we want to know the motive behind this tragic event. And the FBI continues to collaborate with us in that portion of the investigation. And then finally, before I turn the microphone over, I would like to thank Chief Weiss and the Monterey Park Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms, the District Attorney's Office, the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, and the United States Department of Justice, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner Coroner's Office, and all the various agencies that assisted us. And like I said yesterday, I'm getting calls all the way from our Attorney General. I spoke to our governor before coming down here, and he has been very kind in offering not only his condolences, but his support for anything that we may need. So with that, I will turn it over to Supervisor Hilda Solis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Luna. I represent the 1st District. My name is Hilda Solis, and included in the district the communities of Monterey Park and the city of Alhambra. For the last 2 days, as you know, we have seen just a tragic mass shooting take place in the city, our very own city of Monterey Park. Trauma, deep loss for many families that are suffering. We are all grieving. All of us are grieving. And I continue to have the families of those who lost a loved one in my thoughts and in my prayers. The chief medical examiner was able to identify 2 of those victims. You heard some of that already from our sheriff. The 65-year-old Mai Nehan and 64-year-old Lillian Lee. all of the county is with those that have lost their lives. First, I'm grateful for the swift and united actions of our law enforcement partners, the Monterey Park Police Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Torrance Police Department, the FBI, and other law enforcement agencies that assisted in keeping our public safe. Within a day, they were able to identify and secure the shooter quickly without causing more harm to our community. And I'm also grateful to the medical personnel at LAC USC Medical Center and other nearby hospitals for continuing to treat those that were injured. Unfortunately, as we heard, one person who was critically injured succumbed to injuries and passed away last night. We know that their path to healing physically and mentally may be long, but they will not be alone in their journey. I'm coming directly from LAC USC Medical Center, where I visited with at least 2 of the survivors. One was going to be released today. Another one will be released in time, but are both recuperating. And you could see in their faces their spirit to fight and the fact that they are resolved that they are still here. And they want to be with their families, and they want to know what happened to the others on that night. I also visited earlier with some of the folks here, the Langley Senior Center in Monterey Park, to see what services our county, LA County, and the community are providing. And that is, I can tell you, without a doubt, some of the best resources that I have seen united at every level, the federal level, the state level, the county and the city, and community groups, the Red Cross, including other organizations. My hat goes off to our DA's office as well for doing all that he can to help provide services on site and on time, and to all of us. Our Department of Mental Health, physicians and psychiatrists are on hand, and they are there, able to speak the different languages that are needed and provided for these families. And also, they're providing legal assistance that's being offered there to the families, which is much needed. I've also seen the support that we've received from communities like the Chinatown Service Center and the Sushai Center, the Red Cross, and many others that were there. As our law enforcement partners work diligently to determine the motive of the shooting, and as details continue to emerge, we have learned that we have true heroes. And we heard about one earlier that the sheriff spoke about. And I think that individual is a hero for all of us, someone that put their own life at stake and actually prevented more deaths from occurring is a hero in my books. Thankfully, members of our community, also our men and women in uniform, fought also to protect our community. So I personally want to thank them, and had an opportunity to meet with some of the staff from Monterey Park Police Department who were there, who are also going to need help, also going to need assistance. So we need to be there. It isn't just a one-off that we're going to be here one day. The county will remain there for a long time. And we continue to mourn with all of the families. I also want to say, I want to thank the Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who last night was also here. He visited with one of the patients, I believe, at LAC USC, and also toured the Langley Center. He also is in strong support of whatever resources we need. Last night, I also had the privilege to receive a call from our president, President Biden, who asked me what was needed here, and I told him we just need more reinforcements, we need more help, we need to stop this type of violence in terms of guns, and also to provide more assistance by way of mental health services, not just for the community of Monterey Park, but for the entire AAPI community, and in particular, some of our senior centers that service that community. So again, I stand strong with you. LA County mourns with you, our community, but we are here to serve. Thank you very much.
I'm Supervisor Janice Hahn, and I am currently the chair of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, and I'm here today, of course, to provide support to my colleague, Supervisor Hilda Solis, who had this tragedy unfold in her district in Monterey Park. Sheriff Luna, you've been in this office for less than 2 months, and you already had to deal with the worst mass shooting in LA County's history. Watching you yesterday, I want to thank you for your grace and dignity in how you handled it. Also want to thank our governor for reaching out and for offering resources to us. Los Angeles County is in mourning, and as chair of the Board of Supervisors, I ordered our county flags to be lowered to have staff in honor of the victims of this tragedy. Certainly our prayers continue to be with the family members of those who were murdered, a number that's tragically increased this morning to 11, as well as all those who continue to suffer from their injuries. Thank you, Supervisor Solis, for taking the time to go and visit those in the hospital. I'm sure that meant so much to them. And as our Sheriff's Department continues their investigation and works to determine a motive, I want to take the opportunity to recognize the good police work that brought this terrifying situation to an end yesterday in the city of Torrance. As law enforcement conducted a massive manhunt in the early hours of yesterday morning, the suspect was in Torrance, miles and miles away from the scene of the crime in a nondescript white van. But because LA County Sheriff's Department made sure that they got the information out to all law enforcement agencies in the county of Los Angeles, Torrance patrol officers were able to spot this van and help bring this dangerous situation to an end. Thank you again for the idea of cooperation, for the idea of sharing information among all agencies, working together, collaborating together. We were able to, in a timely manner, bring this to an end. Those in my district in Torrance, of course, were anxious, knowing that this gunman was at large all day. There's a large Asian American community in Torrance, and no one at that point understood what the motive was. So I really wanted to thank the Torrance Police Department. I was with them yesterday. They did good police work. So thank you again to everyone who brought this situation to an end.
You know, this was a moment that was supposed to be a moment of celebration, not only for the AAPI community, but for many of us that have friends, family members in this community, and one individual with guns caused this incredible tragedy. And I think it's important that we reflect in what has occurred. I want to thank, first of all, the family of the Monterey Park community, the police department, mayor, city organizations, and others that were not only there immediately before many of us were able to get there, but they have continued to bear the brunt of the work. I think it's really a testament to the leadership in Monterey Park. I also want to thank our sheriff and the sheriff department and all the other both local and state and federal agencies that have worked together in order to make sure that we brought accountability to this case and that we stop a potential threat to our community so quickly, and our supervisor Solis, who has been there with us from the very beginning. You know, the role of my office is a complex one in these cases. Obviously, had there been an arrest, we would have been engaging in the issue of, you know, looking for a prosecution, but that not being the case here, we play other roles, and we were there from very early on, providing investigative support in order to make sure that if there were going to be a prosecution, that we would have the right information. We also provided legal assistance in order to make sure that search warrants were conducted appropriately. But more importantly, our role now is one of dealing with a recovery. And our victim services, our mass casualty impact team has been at Langley and in the Monterey Park area since yesterday. We have worked already with families trying to get them into services, and we will continue to do so for the weeks to come, and we'll continue to work with communities in order to deal with the grieving and ensuring that all the resources that are available in our community and even outside the community will come to bear. This will be a long haul for the victims' families, and the communities, and I want to make sure that we continue not only today but for the weeks and months to come. We know that trauma, we know that the impact of trauma sometimes plays differently for each of us. Some of us have immediately the symptoms and deal with them. Others, in maybe weeks or months. And it's important that we recognize that as a community, we'll continue to be there with you. Again, I want to thank all of our partners for this and to show our commitment that we will continue to work with everyone. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Scott Weiss, the Chief of Police, Monterey Park PD. I want to start off by talking about the partnership. You've heard a lot of agencies listed today. There's no way that my police department could have worked through this without the help of everybody you see behind me. Not just the partnerships locally and county-wide and federal, but the partnerships amongst all of the law enforcement agencies in Los Angeles County. I'm a relatively new chief. I've been in an acting role for a few months, but I was sworn in Thursday night, 2 days before this event. So it's a little bit of trial by fire for me, but I had a lot of chiefs help out when I needed that assistance. My focus now, as it has been from the beginning, is the safety of our community in Monterey Park. We have a lot of events that are going to come up in the next few weeks, one tonight. My officers are dedicated to make sure that everybody that comes to our city, all of the residents that want to come out and grieve, are safe. We will be there. We will always be there, and our diligence and our commitment to the community will never stop. I also want to talk a little bit about the wellness of my officers. I had one of the youngest shifts that I have on the job there that night. My 3 young female police officers who had only been on the job less than a year, they made entry into that building knowing what they were going to run into without any hesitation. From the moment the call came out to the moment they went through that door, we're talking about minutes. They didn't think about what they were going to encounter. All they thought about was getting in there and helping the people that needed help and stopping that gunman. They're feeling it today. I've sat down with each one of them, and I guess kind of like that father figure that the chief becomes, kind of wrap my arms around them. My whole department has collapsed onto them to make sure that they're safe, and they understand how proud of them I am and how proud the department is of them. They want to stand that line. They're back on duty, or they will be soon, but I need to make sure that my officers are safe, and officer wellness is a huge part of being a police officer in today's age. Officers get a bad rap, and I can tell you, I have 77 of the greatest human beings on the planet that work for me. They dedicate their lives to the city of Monterey Park, and they will go into whatever danger they see in front of them to make sure our community is safe. We will continue to do that, and I love each one of them. At this point, I'm going to open it up to questions.
No. The question is, do we have a motive yet? And we do not have a motive yet. We want to know as much as all of you, and we're working very hard to attain that. Yes, ma'am. The question is, there's information out there that the suspect may have committed these crimes, and I'm paraphrasing, due to jealousy or some relationship issues. We're hearing those things too, but have not confirmed any of that information. It's part of what our investigators are diligently looking into.
Question about the timeline. take 5 hours to alert the public of the shooter on the roof?
I'm going to let the Monterey Park Police Chief answer the first part of the question, and I'll come back and answer the second.
So our 911 dispatch received 911 calls about a shooting in progress at 10:22 to 10:23. Within the 30 seconds, we received numerous calls. My officers were on scene within 3 to 4 minutes. Once we stabilized the situation, which means my officers dealt with all of the people fleeing the business, both the ones that were shot, the ones that weren't shot, the whole thing. They then suited up and went inside. So imagine a crew, people coming out, and my officers swimming upstream to get inside to stop the problem. Once we stabilized the scene, did our search, made sure there was no hiding suspects, and set up our perimeter, we do an assessment. It was very clear at that point that we needed the Sheriff's Department's help, and when I got there in about 20 minutes. I don't live that far away. I walked the scene, and it was very clear to me that I couldn't handle this on my own with the people I have. It was going to be too much of a burden. The partnership that we have with the Sheriff's Department in Los Angeles County is very, very close. The first call went to Sheriff's Homicide, and that began the process. My next call, quite honestly, was to Sheriff Luna in the middle of the night. I think I woke him up about 11:30 maybe. I'd have to look at my phone, don't quote me on the time, but I texted him, he called me back, we talked about what was going to be needed, but his people were already rolling at that point. So within a few minutes of us assessing what it was, that's when the call went out for help.
Did the shooting start in the parking lot?
I'll leave that up to the sheriff, but we had one of the victims in the parking lot outside. I don't know if that victim was shot prior to him going in or as he came out. I don't know.
So to answer that last question about the shooting outside versus inside, we did have one victim who was shot outside of the dance hall in a vehicle. And we believe, and again, I'd like to tell you this is exactly what happened, but we're still putting it all together. We believe that that victim was probably shot before he started his rampage going inside. In regards to the previous question you asked, in regards to the hours in notifying the public, I believe we put out a statement. I don't have the time in front of me of when we put out that statement. I know when I arrived early in the morning, those were questions we were asking each other in trying to weigh not only assisting the victims, trying to investigate this, and the other priority of apprehending the suspect. Our detectives had done some really good work and felt they had some really good clues. When we started putting out public information, the priority was to get this person into custody. So we were very strategic in the way we were putting out information. Ultimately, it worked. We will go back and look at, as we always do. Nobody is as critical as we are to ourselves about what worked and specifically what didn't work, and evaluate that and see what the weight was and determining what the public risk was at that time. All excellent questions that we are going to be looking for answers on. What did he plan this? Was it the day of? Was it a week before? What drove a madman to do this? We don't know, but we intend to find out. And we're as curious as you are, because it's, I mean, this is disturbing. I don't. How can you even come to reason that somebody would even think about doing something like this? It's horrendous. allegations about family poisoning. We've heard the same information. I believe the information we have is that the Hemet Police Department put that out. I would recommend you call them. We don't have specific information, although the investigators our investigators will be looking at all those factors to see if it contributed to the madness that occurred that day. Was the suspect known to the individuals at the dance studio? We're hearing that there were possible relationships there, but I'm not going to confirm that yet because that's part of everything that we're looking at. But we hear the same thing over and over, so obviously it has to be looked into and, more importantly, verified. Because I'm getting a lot of questions in the last 24 hours about information coming to all of you. It's second and third hand information. It seems like a lot of people definitely have opinions. Everybody has a perspective. But what we're finding out is it's not supported by facts and evidence. And we're in the business of reporting facts and evidence the best that we can. So. We're in the process of looking at all that. I'm trying to, the question is, have we talked to any next of kin for the suspect? The information I had coming up here is I don't believe we have yet. It doesn't mean we're not going to. It's not on our list of things to do. But that's part of the process of finding out more about his background, whatever made him do something like this, and leading to the motive. He was making, were there any modifications to the weapon that was found? You were talking about the weapon that was recovered, where? So the MAC-10 that was recovered in Alhambra, there are some modifications to that, but as we're having it thoroughly examined, we're going to wait till we put that out. And please remember, I don't want to sit here and describe the weapon to a T. We have witnesses that still need to be interviewed. Part of the questions all of you are asking. We start putting out information in this format, that's not good for any of us. So I want to make sure. Were there modifications? I'm just going to leave it at yes. Yes, sir. So the question is, if I understand it correctly, the modifications, again, to the weapon and the arrest having, when he was arrested in 1990. So that's exactly what we're analyzing with our partners at the ATF. Nobody does fire examinations like they do. So we'll look at that. And what gets confusing, and I will not try to explain, is remember that California has some of the most strictest gun laws in the country. But then you look back historically over the last 10 and 15 years, there's been modifications. So if you look at somebody who may have been arrested back in 1990, maybe then it was or was not illegal, and what it is today, maybe not only a firearm, but a potential modification, and even the magazines being used. So a little bit more complex. It's part of the puzzle that we're trying to put together, but very good questions. Yes, ma'am. Confirm or deny that one of the victims is related to the suspect. At this point, we don't have any evidence of that, but that could change. We don't know. And as we're getting information from the coroner's office, who is responsible for identifying and notifications to the next of kin, we'll continue to work with them. So thank you guys all very much for coming out. Appreciate you.
And you've been listening to a news conference as we got updates on that mass shooting that took place Saturday night. We did learn that 42 rounds were fired during the mass shooting that has now claimed 11 victims. We also learned that one victim was actually shot outside in the parking lot. The sheriff also called a young man a hero who was able to pull a 9mm semi-automatic MAC-10 away from the suspect. That is Brandon Sy. He called that young man a hero and prevented many more lives from being lost that night. Of course, we will continue to follow this and bring you much more information coming up on KCAL News at 4 o'clock. We now join you to regular programming.